The Nova Polaris drifted through the endless twilight of Jupiter's outer system, her hull bathed in the faint luminescence of distant sunbeams filtered through ice and haze. Europa loomed ahead, a frozen desert expanse, fractured with fissures, as deep as canyons and scarred by volcano-like geysers that punched plumes of vapor into the void. Inside the research vessel's command module, the atmosphere hummed with anticipation. Months of orbital surveys had pinpointed a promising excavation site near Europa's mid-latitudes, where ancient tectonic shifts suggested pockets of thinner ice. If a structure lay hidden beneath, it would be discovered here. Dr. Alara Singh stood at the viewport, arms folded, eyes intent. As the ship's lead exobiologist, she had dreamed of this moment since her graduate studies, tantalizing hints of subsurface life, rogue geological readings, subtle magnetic anomalies. But nothing had prepared her for the anomaly the probes now relayed. On the forward sensor ray, a single, sharp signature, a solid mass with a perfectly angular outline, a shape utterly alien against the organic chaos of ice flow. "Captain." "Hail," Alara called, her voice steady but thrilled. "You're going to want to see this." Descent to the unknown. Captain Rowan Hale's crisp salute and the low rumble of his boots on the steel deck underscored the gravity of the moment. Hale, a veteran of deep space exploration and an ex-naval officer, prided himself on discipline, yet tonight a glimmer of awe flickered. Behind his brow, he peered at the holographic map floating between them, an overlay of Europa's crust, color-coded by thickness, overlaid with the scan that revealed the impenetrable silhouette. It was nearly 2 kilometers wide, its edges unnaturally straight, and it lay upside down, as if someone had set it gently onto the ice and left it to time. "Is it metallic?" he asked. "I'm detecting high concentrations of iridium osmium, and an unknown alloy that doesn't match any cataloged element," Alara replied, fingers dancing over her tablet. "It's not a meteorite, it's deliberate construction. Possibly a ship." The room fell silent for a moment. A ship frozen for millennia on an icy moon of Jupiter. The implications rattled through every discipline aboard the Nova Polaris: biology, geology, exochemistry, xenolinguistics. But before elation could fully bloom, Hale's practiced caution returned. "All right," he said. "Reroute power to the cryoaberration drills. Lena, prepare the Excavator 7 rover. We're going in." Preparation and tension in the engineering bay. Lena Torres stood before her workbench, tools arrayed like an artist's palette. 6 years ago, Lena had joined the Nova Polaris project from Earth's Deep Space Salvage Division. Chasing a promise of glory, she now lived. Wrenches, plasma cutters, a portable reactor core, each piece laid out with clinical precision. Yet beneath her calm exterior simmered excitement and anxiety. A vessel buried in ice for who knew how long could hold wonders and dangers beyond. Reckoning. Her second in command, Chief Technician Ryo Fujimori, approached with a datapad. "All systems green," he reported in a soft accent. "Stabilizers online, shielding engaged. Excavator 7 is ready for insertion." Lena offered him a brief nod, fingers already configuring the rover's drives. "Good. Let's hope this thing's as mobile beneath the ice as it is on Europa's surface." She glanced at a holo readout of the ice's density layers. The upper 200 meters were riddled with shear zones, places where the ice cleaved and shifted. Below that lay a cavernous void where the ship's hull rested. If Excavator 7 could breach the cap, they'd have only minutes before refreezing began. On the observation deck, Dr. Singh and 2 geologists watched the drill bits. "Engage." The Nova Polaris shook subtly as power surged through its systems. Outside, mechanical arms extended, and the cryoaberration engines ignited with a hiss, melting and fracturing ice. At a near-molecular level, spewing crystalline mist into the void. Breaching. The shell minutes later, a piercing chime echoed through the corridors. "Hull breach confirmed," Lena reported. "Ice core samples extracted. Thickness, 245 meters. She keyed in coordinates. Initiate rover descent from the ship's underside." Excavator 7 lowered on tensile cables, its headlights piercing the blue-gray gloom. As it neared the breach, its tracks engaged, clambering onto the ice ledge. The camera feed flickered, revealing a vast, frozen surface etched with intricate patterns almost like hieroglyphs etched in the ice. Itself, zoom in on those lines, Alara instructed, her voice barely above a whisper. Lena manipulated the controls. The camera lens narrowed on the pattern's geometric arrays, repeating triangles and circles intersecting in a mesmerizing lattice. Those aren't natural, she said. They look deliberately laid out, like a docking bay marking or guidance system. A murmur rippled through the crew. Captain Hale appeared on the console. Commander, what are your readings on structural integrity? Strong, Lena replied. Composite plating with nanolattice reinforcements. It's thinner here. She pointed to a low-relief panel, likely an access hatch. Perfect, Hale said. Prepare a plasma cutter. I want a small window just enough for cameras and sensors. This is still first contact protocol. No point in opening the hatch fully until we know what we're dealing with. First glimpse a serpent-like pipe extended from the rover, carrying a miniaturized plasma torch. The cutter glowed blue-white as it cut into the hull, sparks dancing like fireflies in the gloom. Moments later, the panel slid aside, revealing a corridor lined with ribbed supports that seemed almost alive, as if they pulsed with latent energy. Mist spilled out, carrying with it the scent of ancient metal and something indefinably organic. Record everything, Hale ordered. Environmental readings. Alara's sensors buzzed. Atmosphere breathable, she said. Stunned though, the oxygen levels were low and mixed with unknown gases. Trace elements of xenon and argon, no immediate toxins detected. Lena navigated the rover's mini-arms to lower a tethered sensor into the corridor. As it descended, the walls glowed faintly, veins of bioluminescent material weaving through the metal. This ship, it's alive, she breathed, brow furrowing, or at least, it was bioengineered to appear alive. Echoes of the pace deep. Within the Nova Polaris, the science team assembled around a central holoprojector streaming the rover's view. Every frame was a revelation, bulkheads inscribed with flowing script, shapes that defied Euclidean geometry, light refracted in, patterns that suggested a technology far beyond human engineering. Dr. Singh reached for her notes, voice shaking with excitement. This isn't just a vessel, it's a library. Every surface encodes data. If we can access it. Slow down, Doctor, Captain Hale interjected. We need to confirm stability. Lena, what's our power situation? Lena tapped her console. Rover's drawing from its secondary reactor, good for another 90 minutes. The exterior drill is scheduled to seal in 10. After that, it'll refreeze tight unless we deploy heat emitters. Hale nodded. Then that's our window. Alara, you and your team start deciphering the inscriptions. Lena, once we have a preliminary map, switch the rover to mapping mode and guide us to the engine room. The weight of first contact as the crew prepared to venture further, a hush fell over them. The magnitude of standing at the threshold of an alien vessel entombed in ice for centuries, possibly millennia, pressed upon every mind. Outside, Europa's sunlit crags shimmered with frost. Inside, the rover's lights carved paths into the unknown. Lena paused at the hatch. For a single heartbeat, she hesitated, hand on the control switch. She thought of her home back on Earth, rust-red deserts, crowded neon cities, star charts drawn by yearning eyes, and realized that whatever lay beyond this hatch would change human history forever. With a steady exhale, she flipped the switch. The hatch slid open, and the rover rolled forward into the corridor. The lights illuminated a sealed door ahead, angular and imposing. The glyphs along its frame pulsed in response to the rover's presence. As they watched, breath held, a soft hum began to fill the chamber, low and resonant, like the memory of a breath long exhaled. And beneath the ice, the ancient ship stirred. The frozen carters of the alien vessel yawned before them, like the ribcage of a long-dead leviathan. Excavator 7's headlights carved oblong pools of milky light into the darkness, revealing walls of seamless alloy interwoven with sinuous veins that pulsed softly, an ambient heartbeat echoing through empty halls. Lena Torres halted the rover and peered at the display. The bioluminescent conduits reacted to her presence, brightening in gentle waves. Readings are off the charts, she murmured. These veins, some kind of organic circuitry. They're still alive, but dormant. It's like the ship's nervous system. Dr. Alara Singh crouched beside Lena, fingertip grazing the rover's tethered sensor. And yet the atmosphere inside is stable. I'm getting trace oxygen about 0.5%, nitrogen, argon, even a hint of methane. If this is a recycled environment, they engineered a self-contained biosphere. She tapped a control pad. I'm recording gas composition. We'll know soon if it's toxic. But right now it feels oddly familiar. Behind them, Captain Rowan Hale watched the corridor curve out of sight. Lena marked the spot. We'll need to return if we lose comms. Advance another 50 meters, then stop. Mapping the Enigma's Excavator 7 eased forward. The walls narrowed into a flaring archway embossed with spiraling glyphs. The rover's scanner flickered, an influx of data too vast to process in real time. Lena frowned. These symbols, they repeat, but in unpredictable patterns. Could be a language or perhaps a data compression scheme. Either way, it's more sophisticated than any code we've cracked. Dr. Singh's eyes shone. Let me try a frequency translation. If these patterns encode phonetics, we might extrapolate meaning. She fed raw scans into the portable AI module. Moments pass, in silence broken only by the ship's distant hum. Then the module chimed. Possible translation. Welcome, traveler. We are the Alir. Our journey ended in ice. Our message endures. Dr. Singh's voice trembled. It's a greeting. A beacon. They expected someone somewhere to find them. Captain Hale exchanged a look with Lena. They froze themselves intentionally. Left as a time capsule. But why Europa? And why didn't they send for help? Alara, keep parsing, he ordered. Lena, set beacons every 20 meters. We need a map of corridors and junctions. Once we find the engine room or data core, we'll send down a submersible with more power. The engine chamber after an hour of careful traversal, the corridor opened into a massive chamber. 3 orb-shaped cores hovered in a triangular formation, each suspended by invisible fields. The core's surfaces were etched with glyphs that glowed in sync, casting prismatic reflections on the chamber walls. Beneath them, an array of crystalline panels formed a daze, and cables like metallic sinews ran along the floor toward a recessed control console. Lena's breath caught. This is the heart of the ship. She steered the rover closer, eyes flicking between sensor feeds. Quantum flux is measurable though waning. We could reignite these cores if we feed them enough power. Captain Hale nodded. Do it. But carefully. We don't know the core's reaction thresholds. If they go critical. He hesitated, voice low. We could obliterate half of Europa's ice shelf. Understood, Lena replied. She rerouted the rover's auxiliary reactor to the cores, watching the energy trace up the cables on her display. The glyphs pulsed brighter, and the cores hummed like tuning forks struck by unseen mallets. The entire chamber resonated with low-frequency vibrations. Suddenly, the lights flickered. Ice above the drill site groaned against its supports, sending tiny tremors through the ship. Lena's console blinked warnings. Flux stabilizing, but rising too fast. We need to bleed off excess energy. Dr. Singh lunged forward, grabbing a sensor probe. I can engage the spillway sequence, redirect power into the network of conduits. It'll attenuate the surge. She plunged the probe into one of the bioluminescent veins. The glow intensified, and conduits along the walls shimmered as they absorbed and redistributed power. The humming peaked, then subsided. The cores dimmed to a steady pulse, alive, but calm. The chamber fell silent except for the distant drip of melting ice. A message across millennia as the team caught their breath. A new holographic interface materialized above the consola. 3-dimensional map of star systems, all nodes connected by filaments of light. A translucent hand reached out, selecting one node that blazed more brightly than the rest. A system uncharted in any human database. Alara's voice was barely audible. They weren't from here. They left their home world long ago and charted paths across the galaxy. This map, it's both a log of where they traveled and instructions for a return trip. Captain Hale stared, stunned. If we decode it fully, humanity could leapfrog centuries of astrogation research. Lena swallowed, wiping sweat from her brow. Assuming we can replicate their drive technology. Their propulsion seems to manipulate spacetime directly. No reaction mass. just field distortion. Dr. Singh's eyes glowed with scientific fervor. If we could harness even a fragment of that, interstellar travel would be routine. And this ship, it's a prototype, maybe even a scout vessel carrying data ahead of a larger expedition. The realization settled like ice on their hearts. They held the primer to an alien civilization's secrets, secrets that could unite humanity or tear it apart. The ticking clock at the locale trembled with renewed urgency. The refreezing process had begun at the site of the hull breach, and the external drills had automatically shut down to conserve power. Lena checked the timer on her console. 30 minutes before the ice resealed the hatch completely. "Time's up," she said. "If we don't leave now, we're locked in until we drill out again if we can." Captain Hale's jaw tightened. Data priority, the star map, core schematics, and glyph translations. "Alara, download everything to the rover's black box. I'll coordinate extraction." As Dr. Singh and her team worked feverishly, Lena powered down non-essential systems and prepared Excavator 7 for the ascent. The core's glow dimmed further as the reactor's draw lessened, but their residual hum lingered, a reminder that the ship still lived, even as it slept once more. Departure and reflection back on the surface. The hatch slid closed behind them, sealing precisely as the remaining warmth fought the engulfing cold. The ice cracked shut in a matter of minutes, erasing any trace of their incursion. Excavator 7 winched them back into the Nova Polaris's belly. Just as the first fissures above splintered and collapsed. In the observation deck's glow, the crew huddled around Lena and Dr. Singh as they transferred the data. Lines of code and star charts scrolled across the screens, a cascade of knowledge that promised to shatter humanity's understanding of its place in the universe. Captain Hale exhaled. "We've only scratched the surface, but despite the risks, we've awakened something ancient and profound." He paused, meeting each of their eyes. "Prepare for hyper-analysis. This is the moment we've trained for. Humanity's first alien artifact, its secrets now in our hands." Lena leaned back, exhausted but exhilarated. The cores may have returned to dormancy, but in that engine chamber, something far more powerful stirred. Hope, wonder, and the promise that one day soon, those glowing veins would guide humanity beyond the ice, beyond the stars, and into the embrace of long-lost kin. The Nova Polaris rocked gently as the alien ship's recovered black box powered up in the cargo bay. Beneath its reinforced lid lay the data core salvaged from Europa's icy grip. Trillions of bytes encoding star maps, propulsion algorithms, and the Illyria's own memories. Yet for Lena Torres, the human mechanic at the heart of this discovery, the true prize lay half a kilometer below, in the engine chamber where dormant power awaited rekindling. 1. Return to the frozen tomb. Lena suited up once more in the Eva Bay, adjusting her magnetic boots and testing her helmet seals. Outside, Europa's surface was an expanse of glittering blue-white, endlessly beautiful and treacherous. She glanced at the hatch controls and nodded to Captain Hale over the comm link. "Opening in 3, 2, 1. The pneumatic seals hissed, and the starfield beyond the viewport shone with cold clarity. Aboard Excavator 7, Lena's breath fogged the interior glass. Dr. Singh stood with the AI translation console, mapping the glyphs they'd recovered so far. Both women exchanged a determined look. "We need to get that engine online," Lena said. "Even if it's just a fraction of the Illyria's drive tech, it could revolutionize everything we know about faster-than-light travel." Alara tapped at her tablet. "The black box has most of the control schematics, but the live tuning requires access to the cores themselves. They're still pulsing, just at micro levels. We can boost that." Lena tested the comms. "All teams, clear. I'm going down." 2. Beneath the ice, a gainth descent was swift. As the rover slipped into the breach, the ice walls closed behind them like a tomb sealing anew. Lena guided Excavator 7 along the previously marked beacons, its headlights illuminating the bootprints of their last foray. Every glyph-lined corridor felt more intimate this time, as though the vessel recognized their return. At the entrance to the engine chamber, the air grew warmer, residual heat from the cores. She crouched by the sealed hatch, ran a diagnostic, and transmitted the results. Core integrity, 97%. Power conduits intact. Recommended insertion point, upper manifold. Copy that, Alara answered. I'm transmitting the schematics now. You'll need to splice our feed into the alien manifold. Lena exhaled, sliding out of the rover. The chamber hatch bore no handle, only a translucent panel of bioalloy that shimmered with cobalt veins. She pressed a calibrator against the hull and the panel dissolved into liquid metal, pooling onto the floor like quicksilver. Beyond, the 3 orb-shaped cores hovered, their glyphs flickering reluctantly to life. 3. Splicing human to a lineage knelt before the lower conduit, exposing a neural mimetic interface and organic ports surrounded by microtendrial receptors. Lena extracted a nanocable from her belt, its tip etched with Earth-standard copper alloy. With trembling precision, she grafted the nanocable to the port, activating the eye-guided splice. Electric blue light arced between human and Alir circuits. Splice successful, she reported. Engaging power transfer in 3, 2, the cores flared. A bass note thrummed through the hull, resonating from the crystalline days beneath. Her feet, bioluminescent veins on the walls, pulsed in widening rings, as if the ship's nervous system had received a jolt of life. Lena's heart pounded in unison. Stabilizers holding? Alara asked. Barely, Lena replied, sweat beating at her temples. The conduits are overloaded, rerouting now. She tapped the rover's manual override, sending half the power into the secondary spillway. Steam hissed from vents carved into the walls. The orb cores steadied, their glow settling into a steady pulse like a heartbeat. Cores at 40% capacity, Lena announced. We can hold this, but I don't know for how long. 4. The geothermal backlash in the surface, subtle tremors began to ripple through the ice above. The Nova Polaris shifted on its thrusters as the cavern's temperature climbed. Inside the chamber, Lena felt the heat, heavier than before. Alara, are you seeing this? Lena's voice crackled with urgency. Dr. Singh's reply was tense. Yes. The geothermal vents beneath the ice cap, you've reignited latent activity. The structural readouts are spiking if we don't shut it down. A sharp tremor rattled the hatch behind them, sending a cascade of frost chunks fluttering from the ceiling. Lena stumbled, clutching the rover console over the comms. Captain Hale's voice cut through. Lena, get out now, we're venting. Cryogenic slurry to refreeze the breach. You've got 5 minutes before we lose access. Lena's pulse hammered. She risked a backward glance. The cores gleamed like captive suns. The corridors thrummed like living flesh. To leave now was to sever the lifeline. Yet to stay was to risk being entombed, perhaps permanently. Alara, she said firmly, I need 1 more minute to extract the coupling matrix. It's the only way to replicate their drive. There was a pause. Then, do it, but hurry. 5. The coupling matrix activated. The sub-dredge unit clipped to her belt. Its multi-threaded probes extended and drilled into the chamber floor around the central days, extracting a crystalline lattice about the size of a human palm glimmering. With fractal circuitry, matrix extracted, Lena breathed, carefully placing it into a containment pod. As the fractal lattice settled, the entire chamber shivered, and an eruption of mist fanned out from hidden vents. Time's up, came Hale's low voice. Report to the exit. We're sealing in 30 seconds. Lena snapped the containment pod shut and slung it over her shoulder. Sparks crackled along the conduits overhead. As the cores dimmed on their own, the power bleed-off controls automatically re-engaged. The bioluminescent veins faded to a sluggish glow. She raced back to Excavator 7. Ignoring the clattering ice fragments, the hatch panel slid closed behind her, and the rover lurched into motion. Lena punched the ascent controls, 10 meters off. The chamber floor, the walls behind her groaned. Alara, Lena said into the comm. I've got the matrix. Let's get out of here. 6. Escape through falling ice. Climb back through the breach was frantic. The ice above fractured in great blocks, tumbling into the void like a cascading glacier. Lena fought the rover's thrusters to maintain a safe clearance, cables whirling overhead. Come on, she muttered, sight fixed on the hatch in the EVA bay. The winch cable reeled in with a shudder, just as a massive slab of ice slammed against the breach, mouth sealing it shut from outside. Lena cut the cable in midair, activating her magnetic boots to latch onto the metal ramp. She tumbled onto the deck, helmet smacking the floor, breath coming in ragged gasps. Behind her, the hatch locked with a pneumatic sigh. The ice crust beyond gleamed innocently as though untouched. Captain Hale knelt beside her as engineers swarmed the bay. Matrix secured, he asked. Lena unstrapped the containment pod, hands trembling. Yes, here. She offered it to him. He examined the lattice, through its transparent casing. You did it, Lena. You gambled and won. 7. A dangerous bargain in the hours that followed. The Nova Polaris's labs became a whirlwind of activity. Dr. Singh oversaw the first scans of the Illyr matrix, while Lena and a team of xenomechanical engineers began reverse engineering its fractal pathways. Every new insight demanded coffee black nights and data-driven debates. But beneath the triumph lay a nagging unease. The core's spontaneous shutdown hadn't been entirely voluntary. Somewhere deep within the alien ship, an automated failsafe had reasserted control, re-entombing its secrets for centuries. If that failsafe could trigger again, if the Illyr considered humanity unworthy, it might lock the drive technology forever behind bioalloy walls. Lena caught Captain Hale in the corridor as he stared at the viewport, Europa's horizon bleeding into Jupiter's vast curvature. We have what we came for, she said quietly. But are we ready for what we found? He didn't answer immediately. Then he placed a steady hand on her shoulder. Ready or not, the universe has opened its door to us. It's our choice whether to walk through. Lena looked back at the stars in her palm. The coupling matrix gleamed, an intricate key to warp space and time. She inhaled deep, ready for the next step. They had awakened history's slumbering engine. Now, it was time to decide how to wield its power. And somewhere, beneath the ice, the Illyr watched. The Nova Polaris coasted in silent orbit above Europa, her labs and cargo bays humming with renewed purpose. Within the ship's heart, Lena Torres stood at the threshold of the main laboratory, the coupling matrix cradled in its transparent containment pod. Across a bank of holoscreens, Dr. Alara Singh monitored real-time scans of the Illyr lattice, while Captain Rowan Hale reviewed navigational routes for humanity's first interstellar course. The station's ambient lighting pulsed in gentle waves, mirroring the bioluminescent cadence Lena had first seen in the alien corridors below. 1. Decoding the matrix lab smelled of ozone and solder. Xenomechanical engineers clustered around the coupling matrix, their faces illuminated by refracted patterns dancing across the walls. Using an adaptive quantum probe, they traced the fractal circuits, translating alien symbology into Earth's engineering lexicon. Notice these recursive loops, Lena said, pointing at a magnified holomap. Their feedback arcs, self-stabilizing nodes that manage power surges. She tapped the display and overlaid Earth's propulsion schematics. If we integrate an array of these arcs, we could build a reactor that self-regulates its output without heavy radiators. Dr. Singh watched, awestruck. Even now, I can hear a faint resonance like the echo of an engine spinning up. She leaned closer, placing her hand near the pod behind the safety shield. Their technology isn't just mechanical, it's symbiotic. We have to respect that or risk catastrophic failures. Throughout the day, the team alternated between jubilation and cautious reverence. Each breakthrough sent shockwaves through the crew. First a 7% improvement in power efficiency, then a provisional blueprint for a micro-warp drive. By night, Lena pored over rows of data, reconstructing the Illyr's power topology so every capacitor, every nanofilament, carried its correct charge and phase. 2. Uneasy alliance back on Earth. The news of the Illyr discovery ignited a frenzy. Governments and corporations vied for control of the alien technology. Broadcasts beamed grand promises of clean fusion power and instantaneous travel. Industry barons declared plans for alien-propelled starliners. Yet beneath the fanfare lay suspicion. In a secure comlink session aboard the Nova Polaris, Ambassador Kovacic of the United Earth Consortium addressed Captain Hale and Lena. Her face was tense, framed by the sleek insignia of Earth's highest diplomatic corps. We appreciate the Nova Polaris's scientific achievements, she began, voice measured. But technology this profound cannot remain under the purview of a single vessel. We propose the Illyr prophecy be shared, a joint research initiative among Earth's leading nations. Lena exchanged a look with Hale. She understood the political calculus. Unity was ideal, but bureaucracy could stifle the very ingenuity that had brought them this far. Ambassador, Lena replied carefully, our priority is to preserve the Illyr Matrix's integrity. Fragmented research risks misinterpretation or weaponization. Ambassador Kovacic nodded. Understood. We will convene the summit of 5 tomorrow. You and Dr. Singh are invited to present your findings preferably before the data stream is open. To all. As the comlink closed, Lena felt the weight of responsibility settle upon her shoulders. The Illyr's gift teetered between salvation and calamity. Humanity's choice lay ahead. 3. Preparations for the prototype. Meanwhile, deep within the ship's fabrication bay, engineers began constructing the first terrestrial Illyr drive. Prototype. Lena supervised the assembly of a microthruster, a compact cylinder bristling with fractal wiring, bioluminescent module jackets, and a core sphere suspended in a neutral field. She guided technician Ryo Fujimori through the final integration. Align the tertiary feedback loop at 750 degrees phase offset. Any variance, and the field collapses. Ryo's fingers danced over the delicate splices. A misalignment meant the system would either fizzle or overload. There was no middle ground. As the prototype chambered under vacuum, Lena activated the control console. The Matrix's subroutines flowed into the drive, the thruster's glyph-etched hull glowing softly. A readout spiked. Power draw stabilized at 98% efficiency beyond any human design. Heart pounding, Lena initiated a brief pulse test. In the adjacent observation room, Captain Hale and Dr. Singh held their breath. The microthruster glowed brighter, then dimmed to a steady hum, proof that alien engineering and human skill could merge. Applause broke out. Lena allowed herself a rare, triumphant smile. They had taken the first step toward harnessing the Illyr's legacy. 4. The summit of Fifth. Next morning, the Nova Polaris docked at the United Earth Orbital Station above Earth's dusklit horizon. Delegates from the 5 major blocs: Eurasian Federation, Pan American Union, Sino-African Cooperative, Pacific Commonwealth, and the Middle East Union crowded the lecture hall's tiered ranks. Media drones hovered in silent formation, eager for a glimpse of history in the making. Lena stood at the lectern, flanked by Dr. Singh's holographic display of star maps and reactor schematics. Ambassador Kovacic opened the session. Today, we stand on the threshold of a new era, one that transcends borders and politics. Lena took a steady breath. The Illyr coupling matrix is more than a blueprint. It embodies a civilization's philosophy, technology as an extension of life itself. She gestured to the star chart. Their drive manipulates space-time without disposal of mass. It is inherently sustainable. No radiation leak, no fuel waste. Gasps rippled through the audience. She walked them through the prototype, how fractal feedback stabilized the field, how biocircuitry regulated plasma flow, and how the star maps charted low-energy jump coordinates. Each revelation provoked a blend of wonder and caution. When she finished, silence hung for a moment, then the hall erupted into applause. Leaders conferred in huddles. Press cameras flashed their verdict. Humanity would go forward together. 5. Beyond the horizontes. Later, the Nova Polaris slipped away from Earth orbit, carrying a freighter of prototypes and a glimmering database of Illyr knowledge. Below them, the planet's oceans and continents receded into a swirl of blues and greens. Lena watched from the bridge as the warp nacelles powered up, the recoded coupling matrix humming through the ship's spine. She exchanged a glance with Captain Hale, ready for the first jump. He nodded. Course is set for the brightest node on the Illyr map designation, Iris 9. It's our best candidate for a rendezvous point, or, perhaps, the home world. Lena's pulse quickened. On Europa, the Illyr had slept. On Earth, their memory had sparked rivalries and hopes alike. Now, humanity would follow their starlight, stepping beyond the cradle for the first time. As the countdown reached 0, the stars elongated into streaks of white, and the universe curved around them. The hum of the Illyr drive became a song, a promise that civilizations long lost could awaken each other across the gulf of time. In that moment, Lena understood the Illyr's true gift, not just the means to traverse space, but the reminder that no species travels alone. Somewhere beyond the warp horizon, new allies or perhaps old kin awaited, and with every pulse of the revived engine, a new dawn bathed the cosmos in possibility.